Alright. Back to read more Lyre after I left off on that cliffhanger. If I recall correctly, or what happened was that Lyre grabbed the dagger that killed Raynar and brought it to Adon, and Bjorn followed him, so they got into a fight, and then Bjorn ended up technically kind of winning and punched punched Lyle so many times that he kind of fell unconscious. But then Bjorn, I don't know, he said that he was like wheezing and then he fell on top of Lyle, I think. So, well, also, if I sound different, I messed with my mic settings, so I don't know if it sounds good or bad. I don't know if I could fix it, but I don't know what's taking so long. Excuse me, shit. Part 2 of chapter 9? Was it chapter 9? Adrius. It's chapter 9, right? Chapter 9, okay. A chilly draft settles on the ground beneath Adrius's hooves. The entire throne room is thick with silence. The silence is so strong that one could possibly hear all their own thoughts echoing off the walls. Adrius leans into the throne, the great hunk of wood standing tall as the mass of ground beneath it. In the mass of ground beneath it. Real guards clad in snowy white cloaks line the steps up to the tree-like chair, each facing forward, the sunlight bouncing off of their armor. Elizabeth and Leaf are positioned on each side of the throne. Liz is on his right, sitting in a small chair placed on the step. She's looking at the ground, deeply lost in thought. Leaf stands to his left, his arms behind his back, rocking back and forth on his taloned feet nervously. The bird was always skittish, but what happened this morning has left him more on edge than usual. Adrius drums his hard fingertips on the arm of the throne, his patience draining by the minute. I thought he was already in our custody. Liz looks up from the ground and straightens her posture, glancing in Adrius's direction before responding. I'm sure they will be here any moment now. You have to remember, they're not here to be put on trial. The position they've been put in because of the situation. They've been put between the hammer and the anvil, so to speak. Respectfully, Elizabeth, I don't see it that way. They may not have been caught at the scene of my father's murder, but I feel they're trying just as hard to drag this kingdom into the ground. Your Majesty, I'm afraid I must agree with Minister Rain. Leaf tiptoes forward a bit, trying his best to keep eye contact, but constantly glancing around the room. In my experience with him, he only seems to be a bit eccentric. Then explain to me why he would try something so rash. I can't explain that. That is something I am unable to gauge. Well, don't worry. We're going to find out. Adrius takes a deep breath and slumps into the large chair. The fact that he would attempt something like this. Everything adds up, but it's still so unpredictable. Not only that, but it could ruin everything. My only concern is that finding out might open up more problems. Even if it doesn't, more problems are sure to come our way regardless. I hoped... Liz starts to respond, but she looks in the direction of the large doorway as faint footsteps can be heard approaching. Ah, good. Adrius stands from the throne and watches as 2 castle guards walk in, their faces stoic. The cat they are escorting, however, looks less than pleased. Even with his slightly annoyed face, Lord Kadaj walks confidently down the hall, following behind the 2 guards as a few of Kadaj's own Drizzian guards follow behind him. The castle guards stop the Drizzian guards from approaching any further as the cat makes his way up the hall. Kadaj stops a short distance from the steps up to the throne and throws himself into a bow, looking up at Adrius and rising from his lowered position. I had not thought to be summoned so abruptly. But when the guards insisted, well, I guess I had no choice. Your Majesty, was there something else that you needed from me? Aegeus toys with his gloves and looks down at Kadaj with a cocked eyebrow. Was there something I had already requested of you, my lord? Well, I've scarcely had the luxury of freedom. Being able to go where I please and do as I like. I only assume that there's more restrictions that you would like to put in place. So terribly sorry for the inconvenience, but as you know, we'll be needing you in the next couple of days. Especially considering your role in all of this. That's the least of our... By the way, I'm so glad you decided to bring up the topic. It really does beg the question. Aegeus gestures to the southern window. Why are you trying to leave? The words echo throughout the hall, rising up to the ceiling like heat in a cold room. That begs the question of how many flies you have listening in on my private conversations. Kadaj says this with a bit of levity, but nobody else is humored. He coughs and waves his paw in the air. I wasn't trying to leave before the trial, if that's what you were thinking. No? What gave you the assumption you could leave at all? Kadaj's shoulders rise up a bit hearing this. It just seems like someone decided to slack your leash a bit too much. It will become very tiring having to reel in my close advisors at times as troubling as these. A close advisor who is also a suspect, as you know. According to your dogs, at least. Aegeus clenches his fist, but his face stays calm. You don't need to remind me, cat. Kadaj continues. Being a suspect, I'm not much help in an investigation aside from answering the questions thrown my way. My next contribution will of course take place 4 days from now. Liz leans forward in her seat, her chin resting on the balled-up fist. What is the point you are trying to make? Kadaj shifts his weight to his other leg, looking up at Aegeus, his large green eyes piercing his own with a feeling Aegeus can't quite describe. I would think that reeling me in wouldn't be on your list of priorities. If you wish to take me on as a witness, I will be here, but right now my usefulness seems to have run its course. At least not until the trial. Aegeus sits back down, running his hands along the arms of the chair impatiently. So you claim you were only making plans to leave after the trial? In a way, yes. Whether you departed now or later doesn't matter. Even leaving after the trial still goes against our agreement with Dries. You understand this, do you not? Of course I do. Kadaj leans his head to the side, looking down at the ground with theatrical guilt plastered on his face. If it helps clear things up, I only wanted to be sure such options would be open to me when the time came. When I was going to bring up the proposition to you, Your Highness. Kadaj gestures to Aegeus, who rises in his seat. That is a very peculiar story. Peculiar, yet true. That is one thing people never expect from me, but I tell the truth quite a lot. To me, it doesn't make much sense to make such a proposal without first knowing whether my retainer would be able to make the journey so soon. I'm sure all of us have figured it out, but just to be clear, what is this proposal? Liz smooths out her robes and straightens her posture, as if to let Kadaj know that he has her full undivided attention. I know that contact with Aaron in my own kingdom has already been attempted, but I feel that it won't be enough to cool the flames, even after this business is settled with our unfortunate Iranian lord. He steps forward a bit. Adrius can't help but be intrigued by what he had planned. He knows that he can't be trusted entirely, but something about this cat strikes his curiosity. As Karash tries to continue with his plea, a commotion can be heard coming from the hallway. The racket gets louder, and everyone stands and turns toward the entrance. The guards at the hall stand at the ready, while two of them go out into the hall. When they return, a few more guards and two members of the royal guard enter. One of them is Finn, the eagle who usually gets assigned with Bjorn. The other one looks to be worse for wear, his arm flung around Finn's shoulder for support. His cape is ripped and armor is scuffed and scratched. Adrius quickly realizes that it's Lyle. His face is wrapped in bandages, with one of his eyes covered up. One would be surprised if he could even speak with the amount of bandages wrapped around his snout. He seems to be able to walk easily, but his head slumping down into the fur around his neck shows that he's not entirely with it. Lyle! Leaf scuttles down the steps up to the throne, making his way over to Lyle. Lyle pats Finn on the chest, and Finn lifts Lyle's arm off of his shoulder, backing away cautiously and allowing Lyle to steady himself. What happened? Good lord. Oh my god, and it's his good eye that's bandaged. Holy shit. How was he able to see? Is my question. Leaf is practically running circles around Lyle, checking him, then making him bend down so he can get a good look at his face. Oh my, your wounds look terrible. These bandages look awful too. Fine. Leaf looks up at Finn. How did this happen to him? Lyle blushes and looks at the ground, and Adrius can't tell if it's from embarrassment or all of the commotion Leaf is causing. The wolf looks exhausted, enough to make Adrius' concern almost match his curiosity. A villager found me at the gates to the castle and told me that Bjorn was attacking the captain in the markets. I quickly grabbed as many castle guards nearby as I could, and we made our way into the village. When we got there, Reed had been beaten to a bloody mess, and Bjorn was laying on top of him, unconscious. Reed was barely conscious, holding together as best he could. A few guards asked whether, and the townsfolk said Reed was acting in self-defense. One villager said he went for a less violent approach, and once he did, it was over before they knew it. Bjorn's fists were covered in blood, and there wasn't a scratch on him. Why had he passed out then? We don't really know for sure. He's currently been taken to the infirmary. It could be his chest pains again. If they got worse, it could have been what caused him to pass out. Leaf turns to Adrius. You see, he's been a bit ill lately. Adrius points to one of the castle guards. You there. I need you to go to Leaf to the infirmary so you can check on Sir Bjorn. Come back once he no longer needs your services. Leaf walks up to Finn, and the eagle towering over him. Are Lyle's injury truly as grave as they look? Or was this just a bit too much bandages from someone hoping to be a field doctor one day? He slowly pans his head in the direction of the other guards, and a few of them try to avoid eye contact. It was all bruised up and bleeding. Looked like he got punched quite a few times in the sniffer. One of his eyes was a bit swollen, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't horribly damaged. Lyle tries to speak up, each word coming out slowly and a bit slurred. The bandage around his snout doesn't help either, almost acting as a muzzle. I can still see. Leaf beckons Lyle to bend down so that he can inspect him. The bird lightly clasps his face between his gloved wings and slightly lifts the patch on top of Lyle's eye. Your eye looks like it will be fine with proper treatment. It just got all swollen from being punched so many times. Leaf throws his wings into the air in exasperation. Was the blood even properly cleaned? Heavens! Adrius sinks into his seat, letting out an annoyed sigh. No, I shouldn't judge. It's a good temporary treatment. Nevertheless! Lee breaks into a small run towards the door, sprinting backwards and calling out to Finn. Make sure to have Lyle brought to me as soon as possible. Of course. The guard that Adrius addressed runs after Leaf, following the small bird out into the hall. Lyle clasps his paw to his face, rubbing the side of his head. Lyle, how are you feeling? Do you remember what happened? Kodaj is now sitting on the steps leading to the throne, holding his tail between his paws. Lyle attempts to respond, but the bandages around his face make it difficult to even get a single word out. He grabs the bandages around his muzzle and stretches them out, allowing him to move his jaw easier. Finn makes a hasty motion to stop him from hurting himself, but he finishes messing with the wraps and continues speaking. I'll be getting new ones in a bit anyway. To answer your question, I feel fine. I've been through worse. He moves his jaw around uncomfortably while speaking, as if setting it back into place. Adrius looks at him, eyebrow raised. He knows that Lyle's had worse happen to him. Still, his pain tolerance must be pretty high. He can't help but remember when he was a young prince and Lyle was just a squire. He had to wear that eye patch for a whole week after getting back. I don't care about any of that. What truly happened in the market? Lyle recoils slightly, yet still tries to answer the question. Well, Bjorn attacked me because... hold on. Everything is a bit fuzzy. Just try to start over from the beginning. Lyle looks around the room, thinking to himself. After a few moments, he shakes his head in disappointment. Sorry, but I really can't remember much of what happened. Just feelings and emotions. Everything's a blur. Do you remember when we talked earlier? A little bit, yeah. I remember most of that, actually. Adrius looks in Liz's direction. When did you talk? When did you two talk? When I went outside earlier. Adrius looks back over to Lyle, gesturing with his hand. What feelings do you remember? Lyle contemplates this for a moment, then answers. Anger. I'd be angry too if someone did that to me. Lyle looks down at the ground in shame. I remember I was winning, but I didn't want to hurt him. Is that why you lost? Is that why you lost? Possibly. Adrius leans forward in his seat, placing his elbows on his thighs and looking down at Lyle. Yes, well, I thank you for not butchering one of our guards. Adrius knows Lyle would have easily won a duel with Bjorn if he truly was out for blood. Bjorn is most definitely to blame for this fight, but why did he do it? I'm sure your recollection of the events will come back in due time, most likely at your own convenience. Not knowing what or why this happened is truly what bothers Adrius. Bjorn's prone to violence, but not without his own twisted reason. The idea that he would lash out. Maybe he knows something Adrius doesn't. He thinks to himself for a few seconds before Liz speaks up. Yes, let's hope for a full recovery on both ends. Bjorn will be punished accordingly once he awakens from his hibernation, if it all holds true. Adrius nods his head. A member of the Royal Guard causing such chaos needs to be handled with care. No punishment at all is out of the question. You're free to go, dog. Go have Leaf fix you up. We can't have you looking like that on the day of the trial. Adrius. Adrius holds up a hand, silencing her. Next time, don't lose the fight so easily. A dog who can't keep his subordinates in check doesn't really inspire. Lyle motions to leave in a huff as he's walking out, Adrius rises from the throne. Better yet, I want you wearing that helmet of yours on the day of the trial. Cover up the bruises and whatnot. Can't have your lover seeing you like that. Adrius! Set a good example for the royal guard for once. Lyle is already leaving the hall, followed by Finn and a few castle guards still remaining. Kadaj's guards also follow behind and stand by the door. What a show. Liz turns around in her chair, looking at Adrius in disgust in her eyes. It makes his stomach hurl, but he resolves to show no emotion. Must you be so harsh on him? Adrius points at the doorway and gestures to the remaining royal guards in the hall. Don't question me in front of them again. Do you understand? Liz has a look of shock on her face, only for a moment, before she quickly backs down. Her fist is tightly clenched, but Adrius doesn't notice. Yes. He almost hated saying that, but he can't let her assume that he can be scolded like a child. The more problems Lyle and the rest of them cause, the more his disdain for them grows. Adrius leans back in his chair, his gaze falling upon Kadaj. You'll have to forgive them for the slight interruption. Nothing like that has happened in a long time. It's all right. When I saw what happened to the captain, I had feared the worst. Why don't we continue from where we left off? What was the proposal you were planning on making? Yes. I understand that you've already tried to make contact with Dries. I'm afraid that it won't be enough, however. So what is it you want? Send me instead. At the end of the trial, I'll leave the city and make for Dries. I can speak with King Aaron personally. Clear all of this mess up, and then return once the flames have settled. As your recently appointed Minister of Foreign Relations, I believe this to be the best outcome. Adrius lets out a quick laugh. How could we possibly be sure that you would return? There are two very simple reasons. Having spent quite a while there recently, I'm sure Minister Rain can personally confirm that us Drizians are very true to our word. A promise means a lot to us. Adrius looks to Liz, who begrudgingly nods her head. I'm sure you're also aware of the other reason. That being, I'm not just faithful to one kingdom. Adrius rolls his eyes. Your faith in both Lyre and Dries is expected. Close, but that's not what I meant. I put my faith in all of the kingdoms. I serve Tigran, not just the kingdom I'm currently helping. Kadaj takes a step up the stairs. Now, do you understand? I wasn't chosen to come here by some king. I volunteered. Lyre's connection with Dries and Aaron is paramount if this kingdom wishes to heal the wounds that have been placed upon it. Those last words caused something inside Adrius to break. He looks the cat in the eyes as if its gaze could pierce the back of the feline's head. Reconnection? Cooperation? Kadaj nods his head. Yes, I'm sure that there are plenty of reasons why that could be beneficial. The powerful and advanced kingdom of Dries exports many valuables. Gold, so plentiful that it covers the desert's shimmering sands. Salt, that precious mineral that preserves our meats. Not only that, but it helps with the flavor too. Wouldn't you agree? Kadaj furrows his brow. I suppose. Stone, granite, materials as sturdy as their people. Adrius rubs his head along the arm of the throne. I would like to add another pair of exports more common than those prior. His voice shakes a bit as he raises his tone. Weak-willed rulers, incapable or unwilling to solve the problems they create, and bandits who travel this world stripping everything good from it. Excuse me? That is not the case. Wars have been started over words less blunt than yours. If your father heard you say such things, he can't, and I'm afraid he never will. Neither will my mother. I find myself sitting alone in a court meant for many. My meals are quiet and cold, devoid of motherly concern or fatherly pride. My castle and kingdom goes unchanged without my direct influence. Between your absolute inability to solve even the most basic of issues and allowing your bandits and brigands to take my mother, as well as expectedly unexceptional diplomat from Aaron, conniving and conspiring to steal my father, I find myself alone on this throne. Utterly alone on this throne. As for war, what we have to fear of your martial might? You're incapable of disbanding barely armed peasants who would scatter like fleas if a real army descended upon them. My father offered what little assistance he could, but it sadly wasn't enough. It seems both parties were incapable of ridding the world of this pest. That. Idris interrupts him once more, continuing with his rant. I think you'll find my forces far more up to the task of combat while under my guidance. We'll see what happens when 5,000 trained soldiers smoke out that rat's nest. Idris lets out a small laugh which can barely be heard under his breath. There's an idea. Maybe I'll have our little problem clear the canyons myself. Maybe I'll solve our little problem and clear the canyons myself. God, I can't fucking read. Kadaj's tail switches side to side anxiously as he speaks up. Where are you going with all of this? If you expect me to fight you on the subject, you're mistaken. Although I must strongly advise against causing tension between Dries and Lyre. Oh, don't worry. This is all purely hypothetical. I would never dream of doing such things without consulting my Minister of War. He turns to Liz as he says this, her brows furrowed and face filled with concern, yet still managing to muster a weak smile. He returns his gaze back to Kadaj. I'm merely calling out the weaknesses of your kingdom. You understand what I'm saying, correct? The healing of the wounds left on his kingdom is inevitable, while Dries and Aaron continue to let their own wounds fester. It's as if they have much more important things to worry about. Idris swings his leg to the side, reclining to his seat further. I can assure you, I will bring peace to this kingdom if it's the last thing I do. Kadaj gives a worried yet determined look, his eyes glinting in the light from outside. Do as you wish, Your Highness. But what is your verdict on my proposal? Idris sits on the throne silently, thinking to himself. Letting the cat leave after the trial could serve to be useful. It depends on how things turn out in the end. Very well. You want to return home so badly. If all goes well with this trial, you may do so. Kadaj looks up, his ears rising. I have your word. Yes. Very well. The cat bows slightly. You're dismissed. We'll speak of this later if all goes according to plan. Kadaj gives another bow in both Elizabeth's and Idris' direction. Minister, Your Majesty, I await the next chance we can speak on this matter. His tone of voice is very curt, and Idris can tell he's angry, yet satisfied that he got his good outcome. He walks toward the exit, his tail curved between his legs. His guards quickly follow behind him. Once again, the room is occupied only by Idris, Liz, and the royal guards, with Leaf being the only one missing. Idris sits unmoving on his throne, his chin resting on one hand as the other grips the arm on the throne. The guards stand at attention as the footsteps retreat into the distance, their bounding echoes dying out until the only sound is the scream of silence. It rebounds up and down the hall until even the hardest guards must shift in their armor if just to dispel the lack of noise. The king, however, stays as still as a marionette cut free from its strings. The bandits are such an obstacle for the foolish and fearless, are they not, Liz? I suppose. Idris looks down upon his guards. Sir Taryn, would you be so kind as to find one of the servants? Tell them to retrieve the headsman. They need to visit with the accused like they usually do. Give them solace and renew their faith, saving them from their sins. Or maybe not. Religion was never my expertise. Have it done either way. Sir Taryn bows and strides out of the hall, their cape fluttering behind them. Adrius watches with a dry look upon his face. Liz sits next to the throne, straight-faced and stoic, like a statue, yet her eyes tell a different story. Adrius can't be bothered, however. The two of you in the front can stay. The rest of you are dismissed. The guards turn on their heels and walk out of the grand room, their armors clattering as they trail off. Only two of them stay, standing in place, still as statues. Liz rises from her seat and leaves through one of the doors behind the throne. It slams behind her with a loud thud. The room is drowned in silence once more. Adrius closes his eyes and reclines into the throne. His chest feels heavy, but his mind is focused. Too focused to rest. And feels as if he's running without moving his body at all. Then it stops. Suddenly, he's one with himself again. Or had he only left his true self behind? Okay. I'm gonna pause recording here because I'm tired for some reason. So I'm gonna return when I have the energy, obviously. But I also want to check how my mic volume sounds like. Looking back at it, okay? All right, looking back at my last recording session, those mic settings was pretty bad. So I did fix it. Hopefully it's better now, better than the one that I previously had, like for when I first started recording Lyre. I have a fan and an AC running, and I didn't hear it when I was monitoring, so hopefully it doesn't bother. Hopefully it's not like heard, I think, but you can still hear the squeakiness of my chair, my office chair. So I'm just gonna continue where I left off. I think Kadaj, where we left off, Kadaj was making an offer to leave right after the trial and come back to Lyre. In part 3, Richter. The dull, colorless winter light shining through the cell window hits my face, granting me the slightest feeling of life. I watch the rays of sunlight gently change direction as the sun slowly moves across the afternoon sky. Each ray bounces off the metal puddles of water, the small puddles of water which lay about the floor. Steam rises off of them in thin clouds as the humidity of the cell clashes with the cold air drafting through the bored hole. Slow and natural movements like this only emphasize just how slow each day passes. It feels like I've been in here for much longer than I actually have. The hours have slowly started to turn into days, and if I hadn't focused on it, I would have lost track of time. Of course, it's only been a fortnight, but the constant thought of what's to come and everything else that's happened has been draining me mentally. Not to mention my physical appearance. I've had to remove most of my clothes at this point. It was bound to happen eventually. The constant fluctuation in temperature as the day and night pass has done a number on my body, along with the humid air rising deep from under the ground. At first, just wearing the coat and shoes was uncomfortable, but over a while, the cold, damp shirt started to send chills all over my body. Taking it off left me vulnerable to all of the filth, but at least now my body isn't at a constant battle with itself and the environment around it. All that's left on me is a pair of black breeches from that fateful night. And undergarments, of course. My lack of clothing is nothing compared to the appearance of my body. Tying back my hair was something I had to abandon a week ago. It messily falls down past my shoulders, unkempt, damp, and far from clean. Having it down like this makes it easier to dry it out in what little sunlight I get. My face feels oily, every part of it covered in dust, dirt, and sweat. I won't lie and say that my teeth were perfect before arriving in this circumstance, but as clean as I've tried to keep them, they still feel awful. I also lack the tools to deal with my facial hair. It always grew fast, which was nice because I'd been told in the past that I looked good with a bit of stubble. Now I just wish this itchy mess was gone. I would try shaving it all off with that mirror shard hidden in the cell, but I'd end up maiming my chin and upper lip, or slitting my throat. I try to imagine the look on Adrius's face as he and his guards walked down here to find me sprawled out on the floor in a puddle of my own blood. It's truly hard to imagine just how he would react. Then I think of what Lyle would do. I shake the thought out of my mind, not wanting to dwell on such a tragic scenario. Along with all of this, as much as I feel like I should be tired, I'm constantly wide awake. I can only sleep for a couple of hours before waking up again, my body refusing to go back to sleep. I'd be ashamed of myself for not handling this better, but it's a dungeon. It's not supposed to be pleasant in the slightest. Anybody would be worse off in this situation. Right now, the only thing I can look forward to is food and water. For the past couple of weeks, the second I hear a guard's footsteps, making their way up the tunnel, my stomach ties itself in a knot out of hunger. The food is bland, stale, and sickening at first, but over time it's gotten better. I guess anything tastes good when you're hungry. Each tray has a small bowl of gruel with a couple vegetables on the side, along with a thin piece of bread. I try to eat the tiny amount of vegetables first. I usually dislike vegetables, so eating them when my hunger is strongest helps. Tigran told me this is good, because if I eat the vegetables first, it should aid with the digestion of the rest. Sometimes there's even a dried piece of meat. Anytime there is, I like to savor it throughout the day. Even after all of that, it pales in comparison to the cup of water I get. It rests in my hand, only a small amount of it is left. I sit there, legs crossed on the ground, staring at the window as I cradle the cup between my fingers. I trust you will be done with your break soon. Their voice wakes me from my thoughts and I stand from the dirty ground. Yeah. Meet me in the mind's eye when you're finished. I take what's left in the cup and bring it to my mouth, tipping the contents back. Feeling the clean water wash over my tongue and down my throat feels like heaven. I never appreciated water this much until now. I'd managed to make it last all throughout the night and the rest of the morning. Standing up, I swipe the straw and dirt from my rear and go sit on the slab of stone which I've come to call my bed. Oh shit, fuck. Excuse me. Before I'm about to go in, I can hear a little bit of conversation coming out from the tunnel. Speaking with Tigran in the mind's eye feels like the best option now. No interruptions. It takes no time at all to calm my mind as I drift into the mind's eye. It's as colorful as ever. Are you going to continue your training today? They jump into sight with a startling flash, but I'm not bothered by it as much as I would have been a week ago. There's nothing else to do. I say this in a dry tone which elicits a sigh from them. I've already counted all the bricks on the walls. Do you remember how many there were? 1,183. There's 474 made from a different stone. I usually enjoy counting, but not like this. Training is driving me crazy, and anything I can do to take a break from it also drives me crazy. I'm in a constant battle with myself while you pull my strings like I'm a puppet. They roll their eyes at me and cross their arms, an annoyed expression appearing across their face with every word from my mouth. It only makes me more irritated. The puppet controlling the puppet is not to blame. What's that supposed to mean? They let out a sigh and disregard my question, asking one of me instead. You don't want to train, do you? I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down as I prepare a reply. I want to, but with each vision that yields no useful information, I grow more and more reluctant. I don't want to feel this way, but it can't be helped. Your life could depend on it. If my life is so precious to you, then tell me who killed Raynar. Or tell the king yourself. I'm sure he'd love to hear it from you. There's a long and drawn-out silence from them. That's a joke. Please don't lecture me again. Ha ha. They release a sardonic laugh. I'm being serious, though. I've been training without a single break for the past few days, and I feel as if I'm going insane. Never mind, I am going insane. 2 weeks of being in a dungeon is bad enough, but dragging my mind through endless strain and meaningless visions, all in pursuit of a single past memory, is difficult. It's maddening. And what if it doesn't even matter in the end? You'll never know unless you learn what really happened. No, that's not what I mean. Even if I do find out who killed him, it will only give me a slight edge in an already botched trial. Not to mention the impossible situation I've been thrown into. I could toss as much proof as I wanted at Adrius and he would still kick me through the streets and throw rocks at me. And then kill me. Have you really given up that easily? I sigh and shake my head slowly. No. I'm just choosing to see things realistically. I'm not going to give up, because I know that if I did, I would never hear the end of it from you. They can't help but let out a soft chuckle, accompanied by a concerned face. You're right. But another reason is that it's your only chance. The quiet noises around me suddenly become thick and heavy as those words settle in. I've assumed it to be the only outcome so far, but do you think I could escape a death sentence even if found guilty? It's possible. Not likely, though. People have been put to death for less than killing a king. Thanks, Staggern. What? I'm only seeing things realistically. Again, very funny. I should probably go back. There's a short pause as a colorful mist lightly glide past our figures. They speak up, their voice filled with levity. You really should continue your training, though. I can sense that you're getting better with each time you delve into the past. Their words of encouragement are nice, but I can't help but feel their words don't ring true. The closer these visions get to the present, the harder it is to have them. It's like time is a road and a tree has fallen in the path. I hope you're right. I'd prefer not to do any last-minute investigating during the trial. They laugh to themselves, still wearing a face full of concern and guilt. That would be preferable. I give them a slight wave before taking my leave. They awkwardly raise a paw, and I see the slightest hint of a smile. Seeing this makes me think for a moment that there could be hope, as much as I doubt it. Shit, I should probably let that animation finish. It's a nice thought, but one that brings me less joy with each hour that passes and every day that comes and goes. I pull myself out of the cavern, slowly bringing myself back in touch with my body. When I'm back, everything is the way it was before. The sun is slowly sinking in the sky, and I can hear chatter coming from up the tunnel. I get up and walk over to the wall across from me and sit down, positioning myself in the sunlight. Once I'm comfortable, I prepare to dive into another vision as I've done before. As I sit there trying to concentrate, the noise stops and I hear footsteps coming in my direction. They sound like hooves. It's most likely Adrius coming back to aggravate me some more. I sit there with my eyes fixed on the wall in front of me, ready for him to round the corner wearing his classic face of disgust. The footsteps get heavier, though I wonder if it really is Adrius. They're slow and thud on the ground like someone banging rocks against the floor. The person steps in front of the barred off doorway, and I quickly realize it's definitely not the deer. And before me stands a large horse in a thick black cloak. His face is masked, and I can only see his large brown eyes as they peer at me from behind the hood. I've never seen horsemen outside in the village, but seeing this one close indoors allows me to realize just how big they are. He's taller than Lyle and possibly even larger than Bjorn. He has his fist firmly placed on his hip, but it's not how one would usually picture it. Unlike when Lyle would confidently place his paw on his hip, it almost looks like he's supporting himself, like he had a hurt back and was applying pressure. His robes are ragged and loose, falling down around his broad shoulders and coming to an end at his waist. A golden medallion is placed around his thick neck and shines with the symbol of Tigrin. It's a symbol I'm far too familiar with. The decoration looks old and bent. My eyes pan down and I notice the object in his hands. An axe larger than any I've ever seen. It's an axe? The handle is made of a long, gnarled piece of wood, and the blade is crescent-shaped. It gleams in the dim light and looks sharp enough to cut bone. The axe of an executioner. My heart drops into my stomach and my body begins shaking all over. I back myself up against the wall a bit more and I get that taste in the back of my throat that I usually get when nervous. Why would he be down here? I didn't think I would be seeing him anytime soon, and if I did, it would mean the worst of me. Worst for me? Is this some sort of sick joke by Adrius? The executioner? He looks upon me again, his golden eyes old and sad. He takes a moment to respond, but when he does, his voice is soft and gentle. It reminds me of Lyle's voice, but it's almost like a tone that a father would use to console their child. Yes, I could be called that. Please, don't be frightened of me. His voice travels through the space between the bars almost like a mist on the wind. For some reason, it's putting me at ease despite the current situation. Still, my curiosity proves stronger. What are you doing down here? Visiting. He reaches behind his back, under his cloak, and pulls out a thick, rusty ring full of keys. Each key is almost identical, with certain markings on them. He starts to quickly go through them. Visiting? What do you mean? Why would you want to visit me? He pauses for a moment, holding a key closer to his gaze, and then continues. It is not a matter of wanting to. It's expected of me. Expected? Do all executioners do this? Unless he has a second job of being a turnkey, it doesn't make much sense. Though, as I listen to the jingling of his key ring, I start to wonder if that's actually a possibility. No, I would have seen him by now if that were the case. Unless I'm not the only prisoner in the dungeons. He finds the key he was looking for and sticks it in the lock. He twists the key and the lock comes undone, the chain falling against the doorway with a loud clink. Putting one hoof through the doorway, he slips through and closes the bar door behind him with a loud thud that rings up the hall. I back up against the wall a bit more as they approach, scuffing my feet across the floor. Is this some sort of joke? He stops where he stands, his tail flicking slightly as he looks down at me with a perplexed gaze. I'm not very good at jokes. Why are you down here? Did Adrius send you? He sits down on my bed and looks at me with confusion and concern. He rests his axe against the great slab of rock, the light shining off it and casting a glare on my eyes. I have to tilt my head slightly so I'm not being blinded. I believe he did, but I would have come down either way. Why? Because I have to? Increase my volume. I can barely hear anything. I hunch over and hug my knees, keeping my eye on him. His eyes look like golden coins, shining dimly behind the shrouded gaze. Oh, yes. I've forgotten that you're not from here. He looks up and down for a moment. They do things differently in Erin. I let my body relax a bit and reply, the words trapped in my throat. I don't know. I've never been in prison before. The horseman takes a breath, then leans against the wall behind him. I just figured seeing you come down here only meant certain death. That's not the case. I can assure you that I haven't come down here to kill you. I'm no butcher. But you're the executioner. He leans forward with a jolt as if he'd realized something important. There are many misconceptions about people in my line of work. I think that in Erin they do things a bit differently, but this applies to everyone. I slowly rock my body. I watch as he looks me in the eyes with his thoughtful gaze. Eye contact is something he seems to be very good at. A bit too good for my taste, as I find that it feels like he's staring into my soul. These misconceptions. What are you referring to? We are merely tools of the justiciar? How do you say that? The justiciar. The judge gives a sentence and the headsman carries it out. Whether we wish to or not, it is done. I don't see how this makes things better. It also doesn't explain why you're down here. My sentence hasn't been passed, let alone the trial. Unlike the hooded strangers who only come out at the king's behest in Erin, I have other jobs. Used as a tool for death, my purpose is holier than most. You're religious, then? As much as one can be in this time. However, it is unnecessary for me to prattle on about that. There will be time to speak about it later. It is the duty of a headsman to bond with the accused and guide them to the path of acceptance, whether they are innocent or guilty. You're here to bond with me? 5 centuries ago, the men of the church might have come down here too. Men of the church? Oh, yes. There were plenty of them from Dries, who had come north to spread the word of God. And how could King Rune turn them away, when his own interest in religion was as strong as theirs? Why would they visit prisoners, though? They would come down here and try to convince the prisoner to confess their sinful acts. Show them illustrated scripts from the old tomes, holy teachings and whatnots. I sit up and rub my hands together out of nervousness. I look up at the shackles hanging off of the wall behind him, the rusted chains and clasps making my wrists feel uncomfortable just by looking at them. You're not here to do that, right? No. That's not why I'm here. I don't care if you committed murder. It doesn't matter to me. Why not? Because it's not for me to decide. I am merely the axe, nothing more. Please explain your goal again. I'm getting a bit confused. My goal is to help you come to terms with your future. I throw my hands into my lap and tilt my head. Future? The trial approaches and your days are possibly numbered. I'm here to help in any way I can, as is the duty of a headsman. Their words caused an empty feeling to appear in my chest. Turn off my AC so I can hear the music. As if someone just pulled my heart from my body. For just a fleeting moment, nothing seems to matter anymore. My thoughts only go only one place. It's the last place I would have expected them to go. But it makes sense the more I think about it. Snow crushed between my hands. Breath just slowly holding onto the inside of my lungs. I feel my chest start to rhythmically beat, sending a hot feeling throughout my body. I try to look around and find anything to take my mind off of this feeling. I look over at the cell door as it rests in the archway, slightly ajar. Why didn't you lock the cell? Because I know you won't try to leave. How? Because you're smarter than that. What's your name? He shakes his head, looking away in sight. I can't tell you that. But I'm sure you'll find there's a bit of good in not knowing my identity. I see a small smirk grace his lips, but it doesn't feel like it was done out of arrogance. It felt full of understanding. As soon as the exchange ends, my mind travels back to the thoughts from moments ago. A heavy weight on my chest. Chaotic screams and shouts all around me. I let out a laugh, a small, strange chuckle through gritted teeth. Why am I laughing? Trying to make it stop only makes it worse. I look up at the headsman, his face stoic and his eyes focused. It's as if he senses nothing wrong. A few more shivering laughs escape my mouth, and I start to feel tears forming at the corners of my eyes. I want to cry so badly, but as hard as I try, the tears won't flow down my face. I'm listening. Raising my head, I see him staring at me with a soft expression. What troubles you? These words cause my resolve to shatter. You wouldn't understand. I've always struggled with the concept of death. Understanding what it is and how it works is easy enough. But when reality sets in and the feelings wash over, I'm never how I should be. The emotions just aren't there. Close friends and relatives pass away, and I'm told I should feel sad. And at first I was. I try, God knows I try. But life goes on, and the living leave the dead behind. Then an avalanche happens, killing a dozen men in my caravan. I survived by some miracle, and wasn't even awake for the morning. I'm told of the events that transpired, and at first I feel nothing. Over time, the guilt starts to grow more and more. Just as I start to feel something, everything goes right back to the way it was. A month later, I walked in on a terrible scene. My king, bleeding at my feet, wounded beyond saving. And even then, all my mind can do is scurry about and try to piece together what happened as I sit there in a puddle of his blood, acting like a fool. I look down at my hands. My fingers are thin and cold, the blue streaks of veins running up and down them clearly visible. So it's ironic, isn't it? As selfish as I am about others' death, coming to terms with the idea of my own is impossible, no matter how hard I try. I stare into the ground, tears welling in my eyes, but refusing to flow. My mind won't stop feeding me these thoughts. I want to run away from all of this, now more than ever. Take Lyle with me to live somewhere where nobody will ever find us. Throw away my connection with Tigran and ditch their purpose so that they graciously bestow it upon me. Lyle and I can stay there forever and love each other. We can grow old and... Damn it all. I slump against the wall, hair on my face and legs spread out across the floor. My eyes glance in the direction of the headsman, and he's still sitting there. He hasn't moved an inch, and his expression is still the same as it was before. He bites down on his lip as he prepares to speak. I understand what you're going through. There are many people who suffer the same experiences. He leans forward, resting his weight on the handle of his axe. Can I ask you something? What is it? I started this out through heavy breaths. Do you fear death? I don't really have to give this question too much thought, so I answer. It's not something I think about a lot. Everyone fears death at one point in their life. Why should you? Shouldn't everyone? Everyone does, but that doesn't mean they should. There is a reason for this. You have been dead before. Whoa, 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 whoa. His voice gets a bit serious all of a sudden. What do you mean by that? He reclines, resting his axe on the floor by his hooves. The heavy metal lets out a soft clank as it hits the ground. Most people today believe that when you die, you'll be delivered into nothingness. But they often forget to ask themselves an important question. Where did we come from? Yes. Before you were born, you were nothing. If there isn't an afterlife, as so many people believe, then you have nothing to be afraid of. For all it's worth, I'm sorry about the things that have happened to you. I appreciate the concern and advice, but so far, none of this feels helpful. He takes a deep breath and lets it out through his nose. There is something else I want you to understand, though. You can't give up. I'm only down here in the case that you are guilty. Better to get stuff like this out of the way now. But if you're innocent, think of me as a friend. If you need to talk to me about anything, I'll be available for the next 3 days. I bring my legs up to my chest and wipe my tears with my hands. I have a friend. His name is Lyle Reed. The Royal Guard's captain. Yeah, he's the closest I've been with anyone here. Visions of Lyle's face flash before my eyes. I can see his smile and hear him laugh. I can feel his tears and smell his scent. Flowery and fresh, with a hint of coconut. But he's not allowed down here. King Idris said he can't visit anyone. I only get letters now, but even those have stopped. A heavy silence falls over the cell. I can feel my anxiety slowly start to lower as I relax into the wall. What other business did you have down here? He looks up, answer at the ready, as if he's been asked this question 1,000 times. What else do you need to talk about? I feel a rush of emotions overcome me. Relief, sadness, anger. Nothing at the moment. I wish to be left alone now, please. He grabs his axe off the ground and sits up straight. Very well. I'll return later if you wish to speak more. Okay, excuse me. He walks toward the door and leaves through it, locking it behind him. I get up and lay down on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. Victor. Tyrant, I said I wish to be left alone. I need to think. There's a short silence, then an understanding response from him. As you wish. I feel a little bad, but I know that they were only going to tell me to train. I can't blame them. It really is something I should be doing right now. It would be difficult, though. The headsman's words won't leave my mind. He seems nice, and it was nice to have someone to talk to other than Tigran, but now my mind won't stop racing. I turn over to my side, eyes fixed on the wall in front of me. I start to make shapes out of the bricks in my mind, each pattern forming an image. Doing this takes my mind off everything usually, but now it's not working. Now my thoughts only move faster. Do they do this with every prisoner? Send an executioner down to their cell to talk to them about their uncertain future? It sounds nice on paper, but having experienced it just now, I don't know how to feel about it. Maybe I'll look back on it tomorrow, wanting more. Still, he's giving me a different outlook on all of this. He said I shouldn't fear death, but he never said anything about defying it. My life is in my own hands, not Adria's, not the headsman's, mine. A chilling draft flows over my body as I lay there. I reach down by my feet and grab the small blanket, bringing it up to my torso. It's damp, but far from cold, thanks to the hot air wafting through the tunnels. As I lay my head on the uncomfortable pillow, I take the blanket and wrap it around my shoulders. The chilling draft from outside becomes less of a problem now, but my legs and feet are still terribly cold. While I try to fall asleep, I pretend the blanket that's wrapped around me is actually Lyle. I imagine that night before everything went wrong, his large, warm body pressing against mine as his strong arms wrap around my torso. I roll over on the warm sheets, bundled up underneath the thick covers. My feet are a bit cold from the morning frost, and I quickly pull them underneath the blanket. I can feel a little headache coming on, but it's probably from drinking too much the night before. The night before. I wheel out from under the covers and roll over so that I'm facing the window. I was wondering why he wasn't in bed, but thankfully he's standing by the window. The fire from last night has gone out, the ash is dimly lit with a soft orange glow. A few logs have been thrown on top, but they haven't been lit yet. Lyle gazes out the window with a smile on his face. He's completely nude, but after what we did last night, it doesn't shock me at all. In fact, it's a welcome sight. His beautiful dick hangs in front of his body along with his balls, resting between his legs as he stands, putting more weight on one leg than the other. I shouldn't be ogling him like this, but he's just too gorgeous, inside and out. His strong muscles are well defined in the morning light, and his long, brown fur shines with a golden glow. His toned arms match his legs, and I even get a glimpse at his rear while his tail switches from side to side. Thinking about what he did with it last night, I wonder if I'll ever be able to pleasure him in that way. I take another look at his shaft and conclude that I'll need more preparation than he did with me. As I stare, he notices me and turns away from the window. The light casts a warm glow around him as he smiles. "Good morning, my lord. I couldn't help but notice you staring. Could there be something you need from me?" He says this with a tone of levity, giving me exaggerated bedroom eyes as he struts over to the bed. His tail swishes back and forth as he walks over. I can't help but let out a laugh. Haha, very amusing. Did I call upon a knight or a jester? He releases a fake gasp and smirks. How dare you mock me in such a way? If I were a jester, my lord father would be furious. If he got word that his only son was prancing around in tights and making jokes. He throws himself into the bed, his weight causing me to rise in the air slightly, before resting back down on the heavy mattress. He'd strip me of my lands and all that other nonsense. He lays his arm over my chest, his head resting on a pillow next to mine. His fur is messy and needs to be brushed. I'd like to see you prance around in tights. Oh, would you? I bet you look really nice as I pull you out of them. Oh, now I'd really like that. He whispers this, his voice soft and sweet. I feel him rub his paw further down my body, running over my stomach and landing on my thigh. This sends chills all throughout my body. He quickly grabs me with his other arm and pulls me closer to him. My backside is now firmly pressed against his pelvis, and I can feel him rubbing against me. His head gently rests behind mine, and I hear him whisper in my ear. You're beautiful. This sends a shiver up my entire body as I gently rub back into him. I'm all yours, Richter. He runs his paws up and over my chest, grabbing where he can. So long as every last inch of you is mine. Rubbing his padded fingers over my nipples, his hot breath puffs against the back of my neck. His nose buries itself into my hair, and he takes a deep breath, squeezing me harder as he does. I'm already hard, but this sends me past where I thought my limit was. I turn my head and place a kiss on his face. I love you, Lyle. The cold air wraps around my feet like a thick cloth. It hurts to open my eyes, but they stay open anyway. I pull the cloth tight around me and realize that doesn't feel like Lyle at all. Tears start to form at the corners of my eyes, a few of them streaming down the side of my face. I try to close my eyes in the hopes that I can pick up where my dream left off. I now realize that this is the first pleasant dream I've had in a long time. As my body succumbs to exhaustion, a thought enters my mind. I should have asked the headsman if he knew how Lyle was doing. Chapter 11. Okay. Save here. Check chapter 11. Okay. I'll end this here. I think I think I'll dedicate one more session for the last two chapters. I mean, hopefully, I mean, maybe it depends. Maybe I'll split them. I hope the last two chapters aren't long as hell. But my thoughts so far, we still haven't gotten like any hints or clues about who could have done it. Trying to skip past the sultry scenes. Who could have killed King Raynar? Who knows? Fuck, excuse me. Anyway, I was thinking maybe it was Kadaj all along. Maybe it was him. Because again, we only have like so few suspects about this. Like, it's if it's not Richter, then could it be Kadaj? Like, I've been telling myself, no, it can't be Kadaj. No way. Could it be Kadaj though? I mean, no again. Because maybe there's just like another character that we don't know about. I mean, there is a character that we don't know about. Maybe. If not Kadaj, then who else? Richter again. Elizabeth. I wonder how Elizabeth is doing through all of this trial. What is it? How long until the trial? 3 days. 3 days until the trial. I mean, that's how long the headsman said that that's when Richter can talk to him for like the next 3 days, and I assume after the third day it's trial, or maybe the third day is the trial. I don't know. But if the dagger came from Dries, or if it was forged in Dries, again, it could point to the fucking the Driesian diplomat. Fuck, wasn't it Kadaj again? Lord Kadaj. But I don't want to see too much because the way the game points evidence is too obvious for it to be Kadaj. I hope and I pray it's not Kadaj. There's still a few pages of CGs left. Anyways, I just know this is when the story is just gonna spiral out of control for these last two chapters, or the last 3 chapters. I'm in chapter 11, right? Chapter 11. Okay, why did I think it was extra 2 chapters? 2 chapters left. I mean, I think it's 2 chapters in an epilogue, or I don't know. Either way. Maybe I'll split it for chapter... Maybe I'll do chapter 11 in one sitting, and then chapters 12 and 13 in another. Again, I don't know how it's gonna be like. But anyways, if you watch this, thank you somehow tolerating my voice and my mishaps. If you want to see the rest of this, I'm still again planning on recording the rest of this. And I mean, it's not night for me, but still good night, because that's how I usually end it.